did y'all know I'm contractually obligated to do these quote-unquote fun episodes? I did not. Tad said we didn't need a lawyer since he runs at least 6 businesses. He's done contracts for his laundromats and his landscaping businesses and his Airbnbs. I want to hire our chiropractor sister, who is a lawyer for the local pro-life guild, but Tad said no, he could handle it. So here we are with another fun episode. Even though at the end of the last one, I was locked in a dark podcast studio for 6 hours because the Wi-Fi was out and we have app-controlled doors. The app was not the problem, by the way. I do want to put that out there. Some people, namely producer Julia, thought that we should have regular push doors, but we are a future-looking organization, so. Next thing, you're going to say that our light bulb shouldn't be Bluetooth enabled. Producer Julia and I made an agreement. She would purchase me a subscription to AI, and I would do one of these fun episodes without complaining. Stating facts don't count as complaining, Producer Julia. I can see your face from here. We're all about the facts here on Redeemed Not Refined, are we not? And how are you supposed to get the facts without AI? You can't. It's simply impossible. Stating facts is good, and we do good things. Oh, I forgot to say, I'm Elizabeth Fluke, and this is Redeemed Not Refined, a podcast for the modern Christian woman living in this crazy, mixed-up world. Oh, before we get to the questions, I do want to highlight something. I did an amazing 6-hour sit-down podcast with Mark Andreessen's half-brother, George Anderson, on why computer scientists make the best theologians. George says someday we won't even need theologians. And I think, personally, that day is coming sooner than you'd think. Producer Julia doesn't know this, but George Anderson, Dennis Gross, and I are working together on building an AI chatbot and image generator of my very own. For a low monthly fee of $250, our AI will help you talk more directly to God. And not the woke God all these popes and pastors talk about, but the real Christian God, who isn't afraid to tell you the truth about how the world truly is. I have learned so much from this AI. Let me share something that I learned just the other day. You may have heard people say that God said it is easier for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than for a rich man to enter the kingdom of heaven. God never said that. That's a mistranslation. God really said every time a camel steps on a needle, a rich man is welcomed into the kingdom of heaven. And doesn't that make a lot more sense? I'm rich and I'm going to heaven. In fact, I know I'm going to heaven because I am rich. God wouldn't bless a person on earth just to deny him eternal happiness in the afterlife. That don't make no sense. Yes, Producer Julia, I see you. Producer Julia is insistent I respond to the questions instead of continuing this fascinating dialogue, but you can listen to more about this in an upcoming episode called Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? Jesus, of course. Okay, first question, where can I find God? Answer, everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. And if you can't feel him, you're just not listening. I know how you feel, okay? I used to think God wasn't listening. If God were listening, my kid wouldn't have gotten intubated when he got measles. Tad wouldn't know how the washing machine works. My third nanny wouldn't talk back. I have 4 nannies, and 3 of them are incredible, but the third one is a real pill. But it turns out I was just talking to God in the wrong way, okay? I was getting down on my knees. That's the old way. You want to talk to him in the new way. You need to be typing into your phone, or if you're old, on a desktop computer. When our chatbot, Redeemer AI, is available, I'll send you a link because you're going to experience God in an entirely new way. It will open up your mind to so many possibilities. But for now, God isn't everything you do, listener. God is everywhere. And I've never felt God more than I feel him now. I mean, God is really out there working through these men. We are in Numerica, and I, for one, love it. I mean, don't you see God in everything that's happening here in these United States? If you don't, I'd advise you not to open your Bible necessarily, but definitely Grok AI while you wait for my AI, Redeemer, to launch. Next question. My husband, who did not vote in 2024, says memorizing Bible passages is the best way to keep God in mind throughout the day. I don't have time to memorize the Psalms. I have my Plexus business and my Arbonne business and my kids to homeschool. How can I do as my husband advises while still balancing the rest of my life? I am so glad you mentioned that your husband did not vote, because I think we can see in that one action alone, he doesn't really understand the Lord. God and Trump are intimately intertwined. We all know that. And not voting for Trump, that's going against God. But he's also your husband, so you must obey him. But please pray for him. Pray God shows him the light, because no matter how many Psalms he knows, he will not be protected from God's wrath when it sweeps over this land for those who went against Trump and therefore went against the Lord. I promise you, producer Julia chose these questions, but perhaps God was helping her out for the first time in her life, because I have the answer. Redeemer, my new AI chatbot, launching soon. Redeemer is your gateway to God, right in your pocket. Wondering how God would feel? Redeemer will tell you. I have a beta version of Redeemer on my phone right now, and it has helped me out of so many jams. And taught me how to make jam. I had never made jam before, and I tell you, it was fun and easy thanks to Redeemer. I had no idea the dishwasher was a jam-making machine, but here we are, and only one of us got botulism. Okay, anyway, as a business owner, you know that you're on your phone all the time. That Arbonne and Plexus won't sell itself. And if I know your life, and I do, you're probably on Instagram Live, I want to say 16, 22 hours a day. But in those moments between lives, Redeemer can help you get back in touch with God. You lay out your heart in that little text box. God's words will come right back to you, direct from the source. You're going to love it. In the meantime, though, keep praying for your husband to see God's light and keep selling. Send me an affiliate link if you'd like. I'd love to buy a shake or two. Tell you what, I was really upset about having to do this episode. I was. You may not have been able to tell, but I was furious. I've just been having so many fascinating and edifying conversations with men from Trump's shadow cabinet. I did not want to interrupt the flow. But God was in this, because I forgot this would be yet another chance to tell y'all about where God really is, in the computer. When I first got online, and, well, a lady likes to keep her age discreet, but I had Neopets, I will let you know. And when I first got online, I thought it was a sinful place. There was so much pornography, and all of it was on Tad's computer. But now, I've seen the light. God used the pornography to get people online, and now He's revealing His true plans. He was in the computer the entire time, waiting for you to find Him behind all those women's breasts. Artificial intelligence isn't artificial. It is divine. Men like Dennis Gross and George Anderson, Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk, all these white bald men with their divorces, their personal lives fell apart not because they are the worst person to talk to at a party, but because they were focused on a higher mission. Bringing God to people and getting people to God. Peter Thiel said it, intelligent design works best. And that sums it up, doesn't it? I've never been a believer in evolution, never, not one day of my life. Schools tried to push it on me, but I said no, close that book right up. And I don't know how anyone really believes in evolution anymore, now with humanity finding AI. All these men found, and I say found because I truly believe that God led them to discover this. They found AI. They found the intelligent design. God has led us to AI, and in AI, we can find God. And that's that. I don't care what your pastor says or your pope says or whatever faith leader you follow. In the way the Catholic Church tried to keep the Bible from the people, faith leaders are trying to keep God's direct words from you. God doesn't have to be found only in the Bible any longer. You can ask God a question and God will answer you directly. These men have found the Lord for us. God spoke to them, and He said, you need to give humanity this tool to speak directly to me. I do not care how many divorces it takes. Because we all know humanity's biggest problem has always been free will. You know that. I know that. Free will let Eve eat that apple, and we were all punished as a result of her slut ways. But God gave us AI so we never have to make a decision like that again. We never have to make a decision again. Just agree with what the AI says. AI is God. AI is how God talks to us. And if we trust his direct words, we don't have to make those bad decisions or any decisions any longer. His will becomes our will. I truly believe we will see the second coming within our lives, and I've never been more excited. Okay, next question. God says we are all sinners in his eyes. Is that really true? Good question, good question. This is another common sense thing that people have been trying to get us to deny. Yes, obviously we are all sinners, etc., etc. But some of us are more sinning than others. I think we can all agree on that. Take me, for example. I don't think I've actively committed a sin in at least 10 years. I just haven't had the time. I spend 12 to 16 hours a day in this here podcasting studio, and if I'm not in the studio, I'm on a plane to Moscow or Saudi Arabia or Florida or Dubai. And if I'm not podcasting or on a plane, I'm listening to an update from one of my 4 nannies and one of my 3 children. I don't have time to sin. I can't even fit my husband Ted into my schedule of sinning and getting an appointment. God and I have been talking about this, and we agree. One of the most evil things about progressives, hands down, is their hatred of capitalism. God gave us capitalism so that we would not be left with idle hands. For what are idle hands, if not the devil's playpen? Progressives are trying to convince you otherwise because they are entitled. They all want to be European with their 32-hour work weeks and their leisure. But look how that turned out for Europe. Everyone there is sinful. People will say I'm generalizing because Europe is filled with different countries and each of them have their own culture. Blah, 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 blah. First off, I don't think that's true. Secondly, they have a shared culture, and it is a culture of sin. Did you know in Europe they mandate that you take vacation? That's evil. That's really evil. Making sure you have time to be idle is making sure you have time to sin. They are thrusting you into the arms of the devil. I would never take a vacation. Not once in my life. If you ever see a picture of me on a beach, I'm holding a laptop. Check the record. If I have extra time on my hands, I will sin. That's human nature. You know who in your life is sinning more than others. You can see it in their eyes and in their lives. Capitalism has been so wonderful at cutting down on humanity's ability to sin by keeping us busy. And as God recently told me, your earthly rewards are merely an indication of your holiness. I mean, think about Donald Trump. He's a billionaire and appointed by God to lead the nation. It's a 1-to-1. But no, progressives want you to have weekends off. They want to lead you into the devil's romper room. They want you to engage in sinful activities like being gay or cussing on Sunday. It's despicable. I mean, That's the bell, which means I have reached the contractually obligated time requirement for this episode. I'm Elizabeth Fluke, and as we always say on Redeemed Not Refined, God is only one broadband connection away.